Go. Hey, F50 women. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, I'm here with Karen Yakovich. She is a motivational speaker. She's a marketing expert, helping business owners to become CEOs. I'm very interested in finding out how that works. And she's the creator of the Girls Get Rich podcast. And you can find her on all media channels, but she's going to tell us exactly where to find her when we get to the end of this podcast. So stay tuned. Thank you, Karen, for joining us
today. Thank you so much for having me, Julia.
Awesome. So before we get to learning about who you were as a younger woman, I'm going to just jump right forward and ask, you help business owners to become CEOs. Will that come through? Will that come through in the conversation about you?
Yeah,
I should
absolutely.
save it.
Well, no, I mean, I'm happy to talk about it now, but I feel like it's part of everything I do. Okay.
Typical process. Tell us about you as a younger woman, who you wanted to be, what you were like, where you grew up, or whatever's relevant to that big lesson you learned that brought you to the great woman you are today.
Yeah. Wow. So I live in New Jersey now, and I lived in New Jersey my entire life. I grew up in northern New Jersey, now realizing what a privileged little white girl I was in suburbia, but we had everything we needed. We didn't have a lot, but we had everything we needed. As a kid, I was I'm this blend of introvert, extrovert. It was actually really evident when I was a kid, because on one hand, I was always organizing everything. Carnivals, plays, whatever. I was always the organizer.
Wow, okay.
On the other hand, I was shy and I didn't want to be in the middle of everything. Kind of a little bit crazy. My family are all teachers. So I always thought that's what I was going to be. And who knew that my road to teaching would be different than the traditional teaching road, right? So I think that I have that teaching DNA, but I think it's come out of me in different ways. But because my family is all teachers, they understand the traditional path: paycheck, vacation days, pensions, health benefits. So when I went to college, that's what I went to college for. And I remember when I was in the summers and I was working at a daycare center, and I was like, I'm $1 an hour less than the teachers are making. Like, what am I doing? And do I really want to teach? I love kids, but do I really want to teach kids all day and then go home and raise my own kids at some point? So I started to realize that the traditional teaching path wasn't really going to be my path, right? So I got married young, had kids young, and kind of just jumped into life.
Okay.
My early 20s. And, doing what you got to do to raise your kids and whatever. So like, if I think back to my childhood, I think the entrepreneur was coming out as I was like planning carnivals and organizing plays and things like that. Right. So I think that there was always that piece of me. And then, I was working at a company, and I adored the owner of the company, and he retired, and I didn't adore his successor. So I was like, all right, I gotta get out of here. I don't want to work for this guy. I got to get out of here. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to open up a competing company, because I knew I ran the contracts that we had. I had all the contacts, but interestingly enough, I was probably in my late 30s.
Okay.
And I didn't have what it took to get the contract. So I had to find a guy that was older than me, that had more experience, to bring into the company, so that I could get the contracts I needed to get, so we could do the business we needed to do, because I couldn't get the contracts on my own, even though I had all the contacts.
Okay. And why was that? Was it because you were a woman, or was it because you just that little extra thing?
Thinking back, it was so normal, but now I'm thinking how not normal it should have been, right? I don't know if it was because I was a woman or because I was just young, or I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, I don't remember really why, but I knew there was no doubt I needed somebody that had an established company to be able to do this. So that was kind of my first experience in entrepreneurship. But what I really quickly realized was that when you own the company, you do everything but what you love doing, right? So that really wasn't for me either. And at the same time, my marriage was falling apart. So I got divorced. Now I'm a single mom, 4 kids. So it was absolute craziness. So when we closed the company, I took on some of my consulting clients, and then one of them brought me on eventually full-time to manage the work that they were doing. So I was still consulting, but I also had this regular gig, which I'm so grateful for, because it helped me get through the years where my kids were in school and everybody had health benefits, and there was a regular paycheck coming in, and I could make car payments without the roller coaster of an entrepreneur at that age. It was an absolute roller coaster, but you know what? I definitely was not, I don't know. I don't say this proudly, because I think it's just not a good trait in me, but I don't do well in environments that I don't have control over, So I was so frustrated all the time about like the way things were working and the way, all the politics involved in a corporate job.
Yeah.
So my business started to evolve, and I started to take some classes in online marketing in the early, like around 2010, 2011. And it really was a sweet spot for me, because even when I owned my business, what I loved to do was the sales and marketing piece, go out
Yeah.
with the sales reps and build relationships. So when social media became a thing, I started taking some courses to learn about it. People started coming to me saying, how did you do this? How did you know how to do this? Because I was kind of
Yeah.
like doing it for friends and helping them set up their Facebook stuff. People were literally handing me checks saying, do it for me. So eventually you start to shift your focus, right? So I'm still working full time, and my kids are now in high school and grown. The business just started building and building. And it got to the point where I was using all of my vacation time by halfway through the year to
Wow.
speak all over the place, on my business, around the business I was creating. So I really had to dig deep to find some courage to just walk away from that job. And let me tell you, it was not, let's just say I didn't have a lot of support from anybody when I
Wow.
left that
Okay.
job, because it was I got great, paid really well, great benefits,
Yeah.
very secure, but I just needed to be out of there. So I did it. I just kind of left and thought that I was going to, get up in the morning and do yoga and have lunch with
Yes.
friends. And instead I was like barely showered by 10 p.m. Right. Because I was working so much, working for myself. But, and that was probably about 8 or 9 years ago. And I don't regret it for one single second. I mean, it was a roller coaster of entrepreneurial things. But for me, that is just where my heart lies, in
Yeah.
just being able to create the space that I feel like I'm going to be able to do the most good in the world with. And, I worked pretty hard to do that.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to ask if there were no regrets, but you answered that one. No regrets at all.
No regrets, but I got to tell you, a
Yeah.
lot of pushback, because, remember, my family's all teachers with secure paychecks, and it's like I was, like I'm
Yeah. Tell us,
like an alien to them,
tell us about that pushback. What was that like, and how
Well, they
did you
just,
combat that? How did you get over it?
they
What
just
did
didn't
you
know.
tell yourself? Yeah.
I just did it. I just
Okay.
did it anyway. Like, I mean, listen, the pushback was, it. I mean, it was. I mean, probably I should have gone to therapy, if I didn't, but probably I should have gotten some help with it in hindsight.
Yeah.
But, my family, they just don't get it. And that's really what helped me through it, was that they don't understand it. And if you
Okay.
don't, how could they know if they don't understand? So really what I did was I surrounded myself with my entrepreneur friends. I had formed a little mastermind at the time, and they were so incredibly supportive. And then there's even people now who are on a similar journey to me, that were in corporate and then left corporate, like right around the same time as me. So we supported each other. So there was a lot of that, but there's still people that don't understand it. Like, I can think of one friend, we were out to dinner, and then she was dropping me off back at my house, and she's like, are you going to go in and work now? I was like, I don't know. Maybe I'll go check my email. I don't know. Does that work? Like, they don't, like you leave at 5, you don't check your email, you don't do anything. They just don't get it,
Yeah.
and it's okay that they don't get, like, that's kind of what got me through, that it's okay that they don't get it, but
Yeah.
only if you can surround yourself with people that do get it.
That do get it.
Right.
Yes.
Like, you have to find your tribe so that you're having support, because without support, I mean, listen, I was a single mom. I get being like, I am woman, hear me roar, but
Yeah.
it doesn't work as well as I would have liked it to work. Like, you need people that
Yeah.
have to support you and to lift you up as you go through your journey.
Yes. And you said there were a lot of other people who left their corporate positions to start their own businesses. Did they do as well as you, or do you have a little bit of an extra key to the kingdom?
Everybody's path is a little different. Some have done
Okay.
incredibly well. Some have chosen not to do it and have gone back another way, so
Okay.
everybody's path is different, but everybody's path has been a little bit different. I can think of one person in particular who to this day, we've never met in person, but
Okay.
we have supported each other through some of these crazy challenges, because there is a lot to be an
Okay.
entrepreneur. It is a lot. It is not for the faint of heart.
Yeah. Give us one or two of the biggest challenges you faced. Maybe having family that don't understand. Maybe that's one of them, or give us a
You
couple
know what?
others.
I mean, that is one of them, but not as much, because honestly, like, I truly realized very early on, they just didn't understand it. And if they did, I didn't feel the need to defend myself. I just did what I needed to do. And,
Yeah.
on a need to know basis. Right. So, but they'd say things like, I'd go speak at an event, and they'd say, Joe, they pay you well for that? And I'm like, you really need me to explain my profit model for this? Like, I remember one time there was a oh my God, my family had a condo, and the guy next door, who I never met, we've all since sold the condo, but I've never met the guy, but I heard a lot about him, that he was an entrepreneur and that he was a business coach and consultant, and he helped other businesses. So I remember saying to my dad one time, wow, one day I really have to meet this guy. I wonder if we speak at the same places. And he's like, oh, come on, Karen. Like, oh, because he's a guy and you have respect for him being a consultant and a coach. So he must speak at bigger places than I speak at.
Yeah.
But I just was like, there's no defending that. It's just, they don't understand. But I will say like a couple of things that are challenges. One is time management. I mean, how do you not work 24/7, especially through the pandemic, right? Like I remember thinking, I was just working all the time, but where was I? I couldn't go anywhere, right? So
Yeah.
I remember thinking, I got to stop at like 5, 6 o'clock. That's it. I've got to do it. And then I'd be sitting on my couch going, well, now what do I do?
Yeah.
I don't really want to watch TV all night long every night, right? So now what do I do? The time management is really the issue. And I really had to, there's a few things like as an entrepreneur, like when you have a paycheck and you have to go to work, you get up, you take a shower, you have to be there by 8 o'clock and you're there by 8 o'clock. That's what happens. But as an entrepreneur, you get sidetracked or this happens or that happens and it's 10 o'clock and you haven't taken a shower yet and you're supposed to go live and you haven't done it yet. Like, so really treating this like a business,
right?
But with the luxury of having the flexibility, right? Like I happen to really love working in the mornings. I just get up really, really early so that I could have, some quiet meditative type time in the morning. And then I'll come to my desk. I've been doing some LinkedIn profile tips videos every morning at 8:30. So I'll come to my desk, schedule that at like 6:30 or 7, and then go back out for another hour and then jump into my day. I also don't work well at night. So I love all my friends on the West Coast, but I'd rather work with my friends in the UK, because I can get up in the morning, I can talk to them in the morning. My brain is more in gear. Yeah. So it took me a long time to realize though that I had control over that and that I did have to control it, that I had to really control it and take control of, things like making sure I eat lunch and ate a healthy lunch, not just eating crap because I need to get back to my desk,
Yes. Yeah. And maybe other people pulling on you, knowing that your schedule is so flexible. Do people call on you and say, well, she's got time?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And in fact, like, it's almost like, it's not too bad where I'm living now, but it was almost for a while where I wanted to put a sign on my front door that said like, recording in progress. Do not ring the doorbell. Right. Or like like even now, but I love that I have the flexibility to work from home. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm running out to get the mail. I want to hang out and talk to my neighbors. So I have to make sure I do it when I have time to do that and not when I have to be on, camera in 5 minutes, or I've got an appointment in 5 minutes. Right. So I've had to organize that so that I can be flexible with that. And at the same time, be responsible to my schedule.
Would you say that you have found your purpose? Sounds like you found your passion. Is this your purpose? Have you found it?
I think so. I really do think so. I mean, about 2-3 years ago, I really leaned into shifting my business even deeper into a niche of just supporting women on LinkedIn. And honestly, I don't really care which body parts are or how you identify, but I think women don't feel as included and they're not as good at really shining a light on their genius. And that's what I think LinkedIn does really well. So for me, I see my students, just the wins that they're having. And that is amazing. And, I have 4 kids, three sons and a daughter, and now I have 3 granddaughters and a grandson. So,
congratulations.
So I see my daughter and my daughter-in-laws and my granddaughters, and I just feel like I want them to have the confidence to do what they want to do, to really have the confidence to shine a light on what they love and run and know that they can have whatever they want to have in the world. So I feel like that fuels my purpose. And then again, just seeing my students, just helping them have the kinds of wins and lives that they were only dreaming of is, I steeped in absolute Technicolor gratitude that I get to do this work.
So tell us about the balance between woman, mother, and professional expert. How do you find that balance? Is there a balance?
What if there doesn't have to be a balance? What if it was all just me? Somebody gave me this advice when my grandchildren were born, and it was such good advice because I want to spend time with them. So now I'm shifting I did all of this so that I can have a flexible schedule so that when my kids had kids, I could help them and I could spend time with my grandkids, because I didn't really have that flexibility when my kids were little. I was always out working. So somebody gave me the advice because it got crazy fast. Like all of a sudden I'm like, wait, where am I going to be and who needs me? So they were like, just make sure, like, I love that you want to do this, Karen. I love that you want to be the, the grandmother, entrepreneur, blah, blah, blah. Just make sure you're showing up as the matriarch, not the nanny, and I was like,
Yes.
that is such
Hello.
good
Yes.
advice. Right. So it was such good advice because it allows me to show up and not, it's just a little tiny little shift in energy. Because let me tell you, I'm happy to help them with their laundry or wash the floor or do whatever I need to do while I'm at their house. But I'm doing that by choice,
Yes.
because I want them to have, I'm there so that they can have the life that they want to have, that I could support that. Not because they don't have time to, mow the lawn. So
Love that.
it was a little bit of an energetic shift that helped me with that. And it's still the same to this day. Like, I moved to this house about 3 or 4 years ago and I completely gutted it. Still not finished. But everything I do really supports two things: my family and my work. Right.
Nice.
Like I want lots of gathering area, but I also need to make sure that I have the kind of space that I need to run the kind of business that I run. And I need to honor that. I need space for this. I love when my grandkids are here, but I need to know that they're not going to get in. My granddaughter was standing on this swivel chair the other day, and the desk, I raised my desk, it's a standing desk, and she was still standing on the swivel chair. I'm like, she's going to kill herself. I need to get her. Like, I need to, but then it makes me think, like, how do I solve this challenge? Right. Like, I want them to be able to not say, you can't go here. I want them to feel comfortable anywhere they want to go in my house. And I run a pretty busy business.
So how to help them to feel free and have some boundaries at the same time.
Exactly.
So tell us about you now, because now we've got sort of a hint and a preview to all the amazing things you do. Tell us what you do. Tell us who you do it with and where and all the good stuff.
So, one of the things when I first started learning about online marketing back in like 2010-ish, one of the first things I learned was, the more you niche, the better your business will be. And it's a hard thing to concept to understand, right? Because if you feel like if you're niching, then you're shrinking your audience. But in reality, it's the opposite. Because, like, for example, when I first started doing this work, people would bring me in to be a speaker on social media, on Twitter or whatever. And two things would happen with that. One, I had to be an expert at everything, which who can do that? Right. And two, if somebody said I needed a social media speaker, somebody would throw my name out with 100 other names. But when I started to really niche in on supporting LinkedIn strategy, what happened then was I didn't have to know what was going on with Twitter. I could only really get really good at what was happening on LinkedIn and with the algorithm and how best to use it. And when somebody said, I need a LinkedIn speaker, instead of me being one of 100 names, 100 people would say, call Karen. Right. So the more niched you get, the more opportunities are there for you. It doesn't mean I have men that are clients. A few years later, then I really niched down even further to supporting women. And I really did that because, like, my podcast was called Good Girls Get Rich. And we changed our program from Get Linked Up to She's Linked Up because I just feel like women were not feeling included on LinkedIn, and I wanted them to feel included. So, and then what I did really pretty much through the pandemic was I just stripped everything else out, where I feel like I'm unlearning more than I'm learning these days. I'm not doing launches. I don't have a new product that comes out every 2 days. I have one product. We sell it all year long. And everything that we have other things, like once you've gone through our initial 9-week program, we do have things that you're eligible to join us for on the back end. And we do some live events and things like that. So there are other revenue streams, but they come from that one product. Like, I'm not doing 10 things on the front end. Right. So it's really simplified my messaging. It's simplified my life. It's simplified the marketing. And I remember very distinctly the last launch that I did. And I was getting up at the crack of dawn and, yes, in the world we live in now, I pretty much have to be somewhat camera ready every day. I was like putting on the eyelashes at 6 a.m. and really like showing up and sending out a billion emails. And I had a launch team and blah, blah, blah. And, in theory, and this is what I almost want to ask people when they tell me they had like a $50,000 launch. I'm like, okay, but how much did you spend on that $50,000 launch, right? Okay. Like, in theory, the launch brought in a lot of cash, but by the time I paid the launch team and all the extra work that everybody in my team was doing, it wasn't as profitable as it needed to be. It was exhausting. So I just was like, I have a pretty large audience. So I think
Yeah.
about people that don't have an audience that large and how they're killing themselves to do these launches. And then one or two people join or whatever. And I just was like, I need to shift the narrative. So
Yeah.
I just flipped what I like to call, like, I flipped the funnel, and I'm like, let's stop worrying about getting 100 people into something for $50 or $100, or honestly, even $1,000,
Yeah.
and go for the highest ticket opportunities first. LinkedIn is the place where we can do that, where we can build relationships with people for the highest ticket opportunities we have. But at the same time, if we're going to do that, we have to show up like we're worthy. So it starts with your profile, right?
Yeah.
You need to understand the opportunity you're looking for, and then writing a profile so that the people that you want to attract are attracted by that profile, right? And it supports you showing up with the higher ticket opportunities. And honestly, this could be for anyone. This is not like as soon as you have 20 years experience, you can do high ticket. It's not that at all. It's, even if you're a brand new coach, most of the people I work with weren't born yesterday. So they've been doing work for 10 years or 5 years or 25 years, right?
Right.
So even if they're a new coach or a new consultant, I'm thinking about one of my clients who left her corporate job and she really wanted to be a corporate consultant. And she came to the first call with me saying, I've got this $5,000 corporate package, but I know you're going to want to make it a $10,000 corporate package. So I started laughing. I'm like, okay. So we made this $10,000 corporate package, and she started listing all the things she could do. And we started identifying who the right corporation is and what their demographics were, blah, blah, blah. And then I said to her, well, but let me ask you this. What if it was a $20,000 package? And she started spewing all of this amazing stuff. Well, then I'd be able to do this for all their employees, and I can come out to the location once a month, and I can, like, try to give me all these things. I was like, well, doesn't that feel amazing? Like, they're getting so much better service. You have less clients you have to get because you're coming in at that higher ticket, and the company's service is their results are going to be so much better because you're showing up at that higher level. She had not sold one of them, but we went from 5,000 to 20,000 in 1.5 hour call, and she's selling them right off the bat. So it's a mindset shift. It's not that you have to like say, well, I have to charge $1 till I'm worth $2. It's not that at all. It's like, if you did a VIP day or whatever for $5,000 or $10,000, what amazing, yummy, gorgeous things could you do, right? Most people are willing to pay for more access to you and faster success. So they'll pay. And you can be a coach. And I recognize, like, if you're a weight loss coach, you can't do a VIP day and get the same results you can get with somebody in 6 months. Like, I recognize that sometimes time makes a difference, but sometimes it doesn't, right? Sometimes it doesn't. And if you can do in a month what you could have done in 6 months, if you structure it differently, people will pay more money for that because they want fast results, right? So that's kind of the mindset. That's kind of the work we do now. And then really supporting women with this work so that they're building high ticket opportunities and building the relationships with the kind of people that they need to have relationships with so they can land those opportunities.
Right.
And then there's one other piece to this that I think many people overlook that is such a huge part of the work we do, and that's publicity.
Okay.
News is 24/7 right now. Journalists need us. They need us. They need our genius. They need sources. They need ideas for stories, right? As you're creating this personal brand or this great brand of you with this great LinkedIn profile, the other thing that we really like to do is help our students position themselves, again, using LinkedIn, to build relationships with the people that write about the things that they do, whether they're podcast hosts or bloggers or newspaper writers or TV hosts. Like some of our students have been on TV. They need this, but Oprah's not going to come knocking on your door without vetting you first, right? So you've got to create. So we help our students create that brand and then go after those media opportunities, because this is kind of what brings it all together. When you then, even if you were in corporate yesterday and you're going after your first client tomorrow, if you're doing that, but you were featured in Forbes last week, or you were, you've got, a couple of, like, a page or two in Google because you've been featured in so many newspapers or magazines or podcasts, it gives you the credibility to help land those big ticket deals that your competitors probably haven't taken the time to do.
Right. Okay. Wow. So how do we get from, or how did you get from that young girl who had that entrepreneurial marketing sales personality to you? What was the biggest lesson you learned, and what changed everything for you?
Well, that's such a good question. I wish I knew the answer to that. I don't think I think I'm a little bit on autopilot sometimes. I do think my kids for sure did. When I was getting divorced, there was a lot that I didn't have control over, and it drove me crazy.
Okay.
And some of it was because I didn't have the money.
Right.
So I was like, money, helps with choices. And that
Yes.
honestly is another reason I work with women, because when women have money, they have more choices.
Yes.
And honestly, like, these are women that are coming to me saying, well, I think it's worth 5,000. And by the end, it's 20,000, right? So this is a
Yes.
common thing. There's been studies that show if, like, there's a job offering and there's 20 qualifications needed for that job, men will apply to it if they have 8, women won't apply to it unless they have 22.
Yes.
So I'm not saying apply for things you're not qualified for, but sometimes you have to just build the bridge as you're on it and be honest about that. Like,
Yes.
it's one of the most confident things in the world to say. One of the most confident phrases is, I have no idea. Let me find out about that and get back to you. Like, it's okay to say that. It's okay to not know all the answers and to say, wow, that's a really good question. I don't know. I'm going to do some research though, and I'm going to come back tomorrow.
Right.
So it's okay to do that. And I think that as a CEO, as a business owner, I don't want somebody BSing me to get me to hire them. I want them to say, I don't really know, but let them come back tomorrow and tell me that answer. Now I'm impressed. Right? Enough cash to be able to make the kind of choices I needed to make to support my kids in the way I wanted to support them. So I think that was an underlying thing. But Julia, I did something recently that I highly recommend all of your listeners do. I happened to be in the neighborhood of where I went to college. And I just drove through the campus, by the way, completely sobbing through the whole thing. So just prepare yourself for this. Put a box of tissues in your car.
Okay.
Wondering what 18-year-old Karen would think of Karen today.
Yes.
Would she have, like, literally putting myself back in the shoes of that girl running around campus and going to the pub and having too much to drink and, dating this guy or not dating that guy or, hanging out with my friends, going to classes, hopefully as well. And it was a powerful exercise, because it made me realize, like, certainly wouldn't have, first of all, there was no such thing as social media. One of my friends last night, who's the same age as me, said to me, did you go to college for this stuff? I was like, look at her, I go, we went to college at the same time. We didn't have computers, never mind social media.
Yes.
So no, I didn't go to college for this stuff. It was a powerful exercise. I got to tell you, it was.
So what did she think of you?
Oh my gosh.
If you want to share it.
I don't know if I got past the complete overwhelm of it all.
Okay.
You know what? I mean, it makes you realize how far you've really come, even when you're having like a little bit of a wobble. Because I was having a little bit of a wobble I don't remember what it was, but I was having a wobble at that time. I was like, you know what? You've really done a lot. You've helped a lot of women. And that's really what I want everybody listening to do too, is remember, if you have, one of the things that I have, and I don't have it where I can grab it, but I actually have a box of like a You Are Fabulous box. And I put things in it, like if somebody sends me a card saying nice things, or somebody writes me a nice thing. And sometimes you got to open it and read that stuff.
Okay.
Especially if you're having a wobble, when you can see the impact you're really making on the world. Because I promise you, everybody listening to this is making an impact in the world, right? So sometimes we have to remember that or remind ourselves of that, and then say, how do we do more of that, right? How do we have the courage to be able to show up in a way where we're doing more of that? And sometimes that's saying no to things, right? And sometimes it's, leaving your job when the whole world says you're out of your mind, but at the end of the day, I had the flexibility to do it. I don't live in regrets at all, but I kind of wonder what would have happened if I had the courage at a younger age, when my kids were younger, kind of not continue to stay at jobs that I didn't love because I thought I had to, because I was making good money or for whatever reason, and really kind of built my career around what I love to do. Maybe I didn't really know then what I love to do either, though. So again, no regrets, but I do encourage you to start as soon as you can, even if it's a passion, and even if it's just a hobby, you're not making any money, volunteer to do the stuff you do. And that once you start doing it, it's in the doing that the knowing comes, right?
Yes.
And once you start doing it, which is actually another really good lesson. Like, so many people, especially women, they need to have all their ducks in a row and their website done. Everything needs to be done before they get started. And I'm like, the minute you get on the phone with your first client, they're going to say, oh, but I want red instead of blue. And you're going to be like, oh, now I got to rewrite the whole thing. Right. So sometimes when you start doing it, you start learning how you best can serve people. They might come up with things you didn't even think of, and then that is where I think all of the genius comes from.
Yes. Learning in the doing. Yes. If you wait to do it, then you'll just always be preparing. Yeah.
Right. And you'll be wrong no matter how much you prepare. Somebody will say something and you'll be like, oh, I didn't think of that. Right.
Yeah. You just have to learn and shift yourself as you go.
Right.
Great piece of advice. So you drove through the campus and you thought about that 18-year-old. What piece of advice now would you give her? You talked about what she would think of you. Tell her.
I mean, listen, again, back to the fact that I probably needed therapy during all of this, but the reality is I really, truly don't live from a place of regrets.
Yeah.
So I think I think the advice really just is, you got this. You know what I mean? You got this.
Yeah.
Like, you got this. Don't worry about it. You got it. It'll all come together, and I had it even then and didn't know it. How you look at pictures of yourself and you're like, remember when I thought I was fat or I thought I was this or that. Right. So that's how I felt then. I was like, God, I had no idea that I had the skills that I had even then, knowing, because when you're in college, and I'm not knocking college, but God, I remember biology and studying my ass off and barely being able to pass a biology class. Like, I get the need to have a biology class, but really, I don't know that served me today. So there was so much about college that makes you feel less than, because you take all these classes that I don't know.
Are not really relevant to who you are and what you're meant to do.
That really, I don't know. And I don't know. And I don't think it's a bad thing to have to take classes that you're bad at, like learn how to deal with those things. Right. Like, there's lessons in all of this.
Yes.
But I think, it can damage your self-esteem a little bit too, maybe. Right. So I think more than anything, it was like, you got this.
Yeah. So all those who are listening, even if you are older, you got this. That applies to all of us right at this time.
Yes. Yes.
So what's next for you? What is on your future agenda, on your dream list?
You know what? We have worked really hard in the last couple of years to build, I think, a world-class program to teach women how to use LinkedIn to elevate their business and their bank accounts. So what's next for me in this upcoming year is really getting this content in front of more women. I've said this before, but we'll see if this is the year that it happens. So one of the things that young Karen thought she was going to do is write a book. Karen of today still has not. So maybe this will be the year. We'll see. Okay. But, back to that time management thing, our program continues to grow. And as it grows, there's always new things that take up my time. So I'm hoping that as I move into this upcoming year, I'll have more time. I'll be able to make choices like, spend a day a week writing your book.
Your book. See. Okay, good. So we'll look forward to it.
Yeah.
We'll be looking
I'll
for
let
that.
You know how that goes.
Yeah. So I just want to ask you, what do you think, because I don't think you're remarried, and we can cut this out if this is too personal.
No, it's okay.
But what do you think factors in, or does it factor into your success that you didn't have to worry about a partner? Do you feel like sometimes having that spouse or partner makes it even harder to succeed at doing what you're doing? I'm just curious.
Okay, so I'm going to flip that question a little bit, because I do think it impacts, but here's where I think it impacts. There is nobody but me to keep this roof over my head, right? You know what I mean? For you, it's not play money for me. Like when you don't have a partner, it's all on you to do the things you need to do to pay the bills and things like that. And I am not knocking the supportive men. I think that's an amazing thing, right?
Yes.
But understand the message that sometimes you're sending out. You know what I mean? When somebody else can't survive with what you're saying is the most amazing thing you've ever done. Like, sometimes that's not survival. So for those of you listening, that self-support, know that I've got your back, because I know a lot of people, and it's not that they don't get it. Again, back to they don't understand, right? Yeah. Back to they don't understand. I need to know. I not only know I need to know how much money I need to keep my business going, but also to keep my life going. So I think that's motivating in some ways. Like, I just finished working with an architect on this house. We're putting an addition on. I'm like, all right, I got to kick it up. I got to get, like, there's nobody but me now. And I want what I want. So it's on me. It's going to propel me to kind of grow faster or bigger so that I can do these things, right? That being said, I do think in some ways it is easier because I don't have anybody else that I have to run decisions by when I invest in a class or I invest in a course. And to be honest, that's the position I want all of my clients in. Not that I don't want them to have supportive relationships, but it isn't always supportive when you have to ask your spouse if you can spend, $1 on a program. So I want you to be in a place where it's just a no-brainer that your business is surviving to the point that they're business decisions, and it doesn't matter because the money, you know what I mean? The business is making these decisions, unless your spouse is a partner in the business, in which case then yes. But that ties back into being the CEO, right? Like if you're the CEO, you make the decisions, or the business decisions, and your spouse does not. I am definitely not the person should be giving relationship advice. However, I do think that if you're going to be the CEO of your business, you have to be the CEO of your business. You have the responsibility, but also it all rolls back up to you too. So you have the accountability as well. So it may sound great to be the person to make all the decisions, but then whether they work or not is also on you, right?
Yeah. What's the difference between the two?
Yeah. So I can tell you, anybody that says this is going to be my 6-figure year is not thinking like a CEO. Because 6 figures is not enough money as an entrepreneur, at least in the United States, to keep you living a nice life. I mean, I live in the Northeast. Your rent or your mortgage is going to be at least $2,000 a month, most likely, right? So there's $25,000 right there, and you haven't bought a potato chip yet, right? You have to pay for your car, you have to pay for everything else. So as an entrepreneur, really you got to figure, if you're lucky, half of that is coming back to you, right? So because you've got to pay taxes and you got to pay for all of your email tools and all of the things that we pay as entrepreneurs, right? So I want my students to be thinking like at a $250,000 minimum. What would I need to get my top line to $250,000? So my bottom line brings me up to 100,000, right? And to me, that's where the CEO mindset is. And I remember having a conversation one time I'm not a business coach. Let me just say that, right? I can help you grow the top line. Everything that happens underneath that is on somebody else.
Okay.
But I remember having a conversation with somebody one time who was a VIP day I had with somebody, and I'd been working with her on and off. And I finally said to her, let's just sit down and do the math. And we sat down and did the math, and we realized that she had to triple her expectations in order to come anywhere near where she wanted. She wanted to quit her job. And in order for her to be able to quit her job, she had to triple what her numbers needed to be. Okay. And she had just not done that math. And that's the difference between a CEO and an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is $50 came in and I spend $50. A CEO says $50 came in, I can spend 10, but the other 40 has to go here, here, and here, right? And it's not budgeting, it's growth. It's thinking like a business owner. But if you truly are building a business that you want 6 figures in your own pocket, you have to start thinking like a CEO.
Yeah, I love that. Yes. Very clear distinction. So let's get a little bit of advice from your playbook. What is one book that you would advise all women to read?
So the book that is on my top of my list these days is the book called Miracle Equation by Hal Elrod. And the reason that I love this book is because it helps you focus on the biggest, like if you don't know what the target is, how are you going to get there, right? So this book basically says, the miracle equation in Hal Elrod's words is unwavering faith plus extraordinary effort equals miracles.
Right.
So much of success comes from mindset. I mean, I would say probably more than all the strategy on the planet, it comes from mindset. So you've got to have the faith and the mindset work, and then you have to have the effort, but you have to have that clear goal in mind, right? If you say 2022 is going to be my $250,000 or my $500,000 year, then let's do it. Let's put it out there and let's focus on it. And then we have to get rid of all the crap. Like, remember I said to you a couple of years ago, I got rid of all the stuff. Now we have one program. All roads lead to that one program. And I feel sometimes a little bit like I am batting away things, you know what I mean? Because everyone's like, well, how about if you do this and how about if you do that? I'm like, I don't do any of that anymore, because I have such faith in this program. It's doing so many things that I don't need to have an entry-level $99 LinkedIn course. It's just not who I am. Frankly, I'd rather give it away for free, so that book, I think, is because I think it helps you clear all the stuff, right? It helps you declutter all the business stuff and really focus on what is the target that's going to help me hit my goal.
Nice. Very important, because we can just get so full of like the cat after the string, running in different directions, trying to figure out which one is going to be the hit, when you just really
Yes.
need to think through it and clear out the other stuff.
It's so funny that you said that, because I'm like,
Yeah.
spoiler alert, I have probably a podcast coming out that says it's something along the lines of, don't be the cat with the string, be the dog with the bone.
I love that.
Because it's so true. Like, no, be the dog with the bone.
Yes.
Know what you want. Don't let anybody else get near it.
That's right. Don't let anybody grab
Right.
it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes. So what's the one thing that you can't miss doing every day?
So we've been talking for about 45 minutes. My brain goes 100 miles an hour.
Okay.
I need to slow my brain down. Meditation is the don't miss thing for me. I start my day out with it. I have some pattern interrupts during the day if I need to, if my head just starts exploding full of things, and sometimes I need to slow it down. So, and I also find that listening to just the quiet, to nothing, listening to just being quiet and listening. The most important thing I do every day is meditate and do my best to quiet my mind. I was driving to my daughter's last week early in the morning, and I decided I wasn't going to put the radio on because I didn't have time to meditate before I got in there. So I said, I'm not putting the radio on. My head exploded with ideas the whole way there. I kept calling myself, leaving myself voicemail messages from my car, just because I stopped. And instead of having stimulus in, I just quieted. I didn't even turn the radio on, no music, nothing. Yeah. When I quiet my mind, it just doesn't, I don't do it enough. I make it a point to do it every day.
So was that a good thing that you were calling yourself with ideas?
Oh, it was a great thing.
Because the ideas were able to flow.
Yeah. Instead of me always, the ideas were flowing without me pushing. It was like receiving instead of
just trying to force it. So would you say that your active mind is a success tool? Do you think that, or do you notice that a lot of CEO type entrepreneurs have an active mind, and that is something either is an effect of trying to be one, or that's sort of a gift that helps you be good at it?
Well, I think here's where it helps. Whether this is probably not great advice, but this is where it helps is sometimes I just move forward without doing a lot of thinking around it. So it makes you make more mistakes that way, but also you take more action. So because my brain is always going, I'm always like, all right, let's try this, let's try that. How about if we do this? What if we do that? Right? As opposed to stopping and having to think about every little thing that I do and overthinking things. I underthink things. Not necessarily a good trait, but I think what it does is I might make more mistakes because I do more things, I try more things, but I think that having an active mind gives me the opportunity to be creative and try a lot of things.
Do you think your mind was always that way as a young girl growing up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't have any ADD diagnosis or anything like that. I wouldn't be surprised if I did, but I think that that's also an entrepreneurial thing. I think entrepreneurs are more like, but what about this? And how about if we do that? And which is why I'm really work really hard now to focus on my one program and just say no to things if they don't fit into that. And it's been hard. I love to speak. I love having a microphone in front of audiences, but now I look at that audience and I go, are my people in that audience? And if the answer is no, I say no, because what am I doing then? Right? What am I doing it for? I could be sitting on the beach with my grandkids.
Yeah. So when you speak in front of an audience, do you prepare a speech, or you very much sort of, you have something you want to say and you can just go right off the cuff because you have so much to give?
I mean, listen, if somebody threw me in front of a room, 3 seconds notice, I think I'd be fine. But if somebody's bringing me in front of an audience, I want to make sure that I'm prepared. Mostly I have an outline, and I have the outline just so I don't forget so that I hit all the points that I want to hit.
Yes.
Right. But I did my first in-person talk a couple of weeks ago at She Podcast Live in Scottsdale, Arizona, and there were no slides. At the room I was in had no slides and no projectors. It was kind of interesting because it's been a long time since I've done a talk without slides. Yeah. So I had note cards because I wanted to make sure that I didn't forget things, but it was kind of fun to do it without the slides. I was really fine doing it without the slides, and I know not everybody is.
Yeah. And just one tip, how do you engage audiences that are maybe dry? I don't know if you speak to accountant types or types that are not very interactive. What would be a tool you would use to sort of get them engaged?
Video.
Okay.
Video. I mean, video gets to your heart, people get to see your heart. I mean, December 2021, I've been doing daily LinkedIn tip videos on LinkedIn, and it's been a lot of fun. It doesn't take me long. Yeah. I do at 8:30 a.m. every morning, and we get a lot of engagement, but people are reaching out to me. People like somebody just reached out to me recently that I worked with like 5 years ago. And she's like, you know what? We just hired somebody else. Can somebody on your team do their profile? I'm like, yeah. But I really do think she saw it because of the video, right?
Yeah.
If I posted things, she might not have even remembered. So I think video really helps people understand that you're an expert and that you know your stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I know that some people struggle a little bit with confidence with video, but I think it's important in the world we live in right now to kind of try to overcome that fear. Because I think it's really important. If you want to stand out from your competitors, the only way you're going to do it is if they can see and feel your heart.
Yeah. Great advice. Thank you so much. And just one last question before we find out how we can get in touch with you and link up with you. Have any of your children followed you on the entrepreneurial path?
Not really.
Or maybe not yet?
Yeah, well, yes and no, not really. Well, one of my sons probably has. One of my sons, he had a lot more courage than I had at a younger age, and it's really paid off for him. He's actually working in politics right now, and he's doing very well. And I was just like, you're what? You quit your job? Like, you live in this expensive apartment, blah, 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 and you quit your job because you didn't like it? Okay. He walked in and volunteered on a political campaign, and the rest is history. He's now got a very successful career doing that. And he's moved around a little bit. So I think even though he's not really an entrepreneur, I think that's an entrepreneurial spirit, right?
Yes.
Especially with politics, you never know who you're working for. If they lose, you're out of a job, right? So, so there's him. And I have another son who's more entrepreneurial too. So yeah.
Okay.
I think if I had started earlier in life, they might have grown up with it. Instead, they were like, what are you doing? Okay.
Yeah.
They block me on Twitter and things like that. So I can't do embarrassing things with their Twitter in front of their friends,
Yes. Yeah. Sounds like that generation when they get that age. Yeah.
Exactly.
What I do and what you do is a little separate. So let's don't invade my space that I've created. So tell us, what is the best way, or what are all the ways that the audience, for all of us, me and you out there at 50 Women, can get in touch with you, Karen, after this podcast is over?
So I'm at Karen Yakovich across all social media. So I'd love for you to connect with me anywhere on social media. Certainly connect with me on LinkedIn. Tell me that you heard me here. But if anything I talked about intrigued you, I would love to invite you to check out, I have an on-demand masterclass. I refer to LinkedIn as your money tree. It's where the opportunities are. So if you go to waterthatmoneytree.com, that'll get you to the free masterclass, the on-demand masterclass. And we're not selling anything on that class. I kind of just talk more about the kind of energetic shifts and mindset shifts you need to make to really use LinkedIn successfully as we move into a new year. All we do is offer you an opportunity to get on the call with us. So we're not selling anything. It's just all content. And I would love to invite you to check that out. And if at that point you'll either think I'm crazy and we're not a fit, or you'll like it and we are a fit, and then you'll want to get on the phone, and I'm happy to talk to you. I'd much rather, there's lots of ways to do this. This is my way. If my way resonates with you, I'd love to talk to you.
Yes. And all the links will be in the bio. So if you didn't catch them, either rewind or look in the bio, and you can connect with all of those.
Good girls get rich.
That's right. And the podcast can be found on any podcast channel. Okay.
Everywhere.
Good. Well, thank you so much, Karen. It's been great chatting to you. Incredible
kind of
advice.
Reminisce a little bit about my life.
Yeah. And think about where you've come from and how far you've come. Because like you said, you just want to say, you got this, girl. You got it. Yes. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.